Hello, everyone, and thank you, BBELT, for the opportunity to talk about timeless strategies enhanced by technology. The purpose of this talk is to reflect on timeless strategies that stood the test of time. That is, aspects of teaching that need to be present, no matter the method or approach. If it's communicative, task based, inquiry based, using artificial intelligence, blended, flipped, etc. Which are the ingredients, which are the elements that people with vast experience in ELT have come to the conclusion that need to be there for successful learning? So we thank Gabriela Kaplan, who's Ceibal in Ingles director, who's kindly agreed to share with us her views on timeless aspects of teaching. So thank you, Gabriela. Let's listen to her and enjoy. We welcome Gabriela Kaplan, Ceibal in Ingles director, to reflect on timeless strategies enhanced by technology for BBELT 2025, Shaping Brighter Future Through ELT. Welcome, Gabriela.
Thank
you.
Tell
us, so good to have you here. So tell us about yourself and your vast career in ELT.
Well, first of all, thank you again for the opportunity of presenting at BBELT with you, Alicia. So yes, I do have quite a vast experience in ELT. I taught for 30 years, EFL, and particularly in the field of literature in English. And I think I've worked at all levels and with children, adolescents, and adults.
So you and me and many other teachers from different generations, we all have learned and taught using many different approaches and methods. Teacher-centered, student-centered, using paper books, boards, and also incorporating technology. Can we say that that all the different approaches and methods were successful if certain strategies and elements in the planning and delivery of the lesson are present?
Yeah, I think we can say that up to a certain extent, all of those have been successful.
Okay, with their flaws, they have all managed to teach and learn.
They have managed to teach many generations how to speak English.
Yeah. So the reflection here with you today and using your experience for the audience is, what are the timeless strategies and components for successful language learning?
What an interesting question, Alicia. I really like this idea of timeless characteristics or strategies that must be taken into account. Because even though there's all this new technology that we've been introducing lately, and sometimes it's the technology that seems to be so stunning for people to see and so attractive, but really it's all about education and about teaching. And so I think that teaching a foreign language has a particular difficulty, which is that the objective to be learned is the same as the vehicle through which you teach it. So you can't teach English if you speak all the time in Spanish, for example. So I believe that this is what makes teaching a foreign language particularly difficult. And this is why we all have had students who feel afraid of speaking English, and even teachers, all of us feel a bit awkward when we are speaking a foreign language. But I think that there's certain things that if they're always taken into account, they make learning probably not easier, because learning is always something very difficult for everyone, but at least that it should run a bit more smoothly, probably. So I would say that it's important for teachers to bear in mind that English should be for the students part of their world. What I'm trying to say is not to allocate to English teaching a place in which certain things cannot be discussed. There is a strong force within EFL that there are certain topics, because they are either viewed as very political or culturally complex, that shouldn't be part of the lesson. And I think that sometimes that makes lessons a bit tedious, because then students don't feel that what they are worried about matters inside the classroom. So I think that should be taken into account as much as possible, as far as possible, always knowing that because the vehicle is still probably slow because kids are learning English, you cannot discuss everything and anything, but yes, allowing all topics to be part of the lesson, I would say.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's, yeah.
I also believe that very much in connection to this is that the teacher has to be always actively listening to what happens in class, to what students say, and also to their gestures. In the olden times, I would be very concerned if students would begin to look at their watches because I knew that they were getting bored. These days, probably, if you start seeing that kids or students in general begin to look at their phones, it means that they are completely disconnected from the lesson. So I think that you have to be actively listening and watching everything that is happening. Also, students' interaction, to see if there might be some trouble going on somewhere in that direction. So the teacher can probably intervene if she or he believes that it's important. And then, of course, never, or try to, we've all lost teaching moments, but try not to lose those teaching moments, no? I think that somehow all teachers are destined to miss teaching moments because we're just humans. And so we probably miss that question. But if you do, in the reflection after the lesson, I always had these things. I remember finishing a lesson and in a quiet moment, maybe waiting for the bus or riding back home, I would say, hi, when so-and-so asked that question, he or she was actually asking for this other thing. So I would try to bring it back in the following lesson and always, promise myself to be more attentive to the question next time. So I would use it in the lesson at the moment. So I think that's very important as well. And then during the lesson, and as part of this, is giving timely feedback and relevant feedback. Because the other day I was listening to a Spanish academic talking about the use of different uses of technology. And she was saying that we might get to the place in which the student doesn't write, but it's artificial intelligence who writes or that writes. And the teacher doesn't correct. It's another AI tool that corrects. So, this would become a bit of a crazy world in which a machine produces to be marked or corrected by another machine. So I think that relevant feedback and human feedback is very important and is probably essential, because I guess it makes the student feel respected. And it matters not if there are many mistakes. It doesn't matter. We all make many mistakes, but at least the teacher paid attention to my mistakes. I also believe, of course, that preparing lessons is quite important. Yeah, of course, we can use AI to help us prepare. That's fine. But we need to know what's going to happen in the lesson, because time flies. And if we haven't given or provided our students with quality material, and then it is everyone's waste of time, no? And I remember especially teaching teenagers and young adults, that they had this sense, I could sometimes sense in the class something like, what else do you want me to do? I've come to the lesson. What else do you want me to do? And so I would say, okay, fine, you're here. Let's work. Then let's do something. Because we're all here, let's do something. So to have an interesting proposal for the students, I think it's still timeless and very important. And then in terms also of correction and feedback, I always try to use errors as a chance for everybody to learn. I remember correcting long essays and then using the board to write all the errors. And I never said who had made the mistake. It doesn't matter. But I always believe that in a group, someone makes a mistake, it means that everyone in the group could have made that mistake. So I thought it was worthwhile using a bit of time to reflect on the mistakes and the errors to see if everybody understands why that was a mistake. And then, of course, I'm a risk taker. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. So I think that it is beneficial for everybody that the teacher takes risks, because we want students to take risks. No, we want them to try and use a complicated structure and make a mistake, but at least they've tried. No, and I think that that's very important when you're speaking a foreign language, to say, okay, I'm not sure if that's the idiom exactly, but I'm going to use it. And well, if it's an error, it doesn't matter, because the native speaker in general understands what you wanted to say. And you took the chance, and there you went and you did it, and it's fine. So I think that the teacher also should take risks, pedagogical risks and didactic risks, and see how that works, because in the end, teaching is a lot about trial and error, and see where we can improve. No, and today, for example, which is the day when school starts, there's always this nerves, both in the student and the teacher, because we are all encountering a new situation. And so it's interesting that in that new situation, we all agree to take risks and see how it goes. And then I also believe that every action in the classroom should show students that the teacher is fully committed to their learning. And so that students should feel that they can ask you things like, so why do you write all our errors on the board? Why do you do that? Is it because you want to embarrass us? And so the teacher should be able to explain and to show, well, I'm doing this because this is my belief, and this is why I'm doing this. If you guys feel embarrassed or you think that you're not learning, let me know, and we can see how we can change that, for example.
Right.
And also try to be as humble as possible, and always make sure that your students realize that you're also a student, that you're also learning, and that each class is a teaching moment for them and for yourself. So I would say that all of those, to me, are timeless aspects of teaching, and that should be taken into account with using technology or without technology. And I think they should always be relevant in that sense.
That's an incredible list. I can't agree more. So thank you very much, Gabriela, for sharing these ingredients of a timeless lesson that I'm sure will be useful for all the different generations of teachers of English. So thanks again.
Thank you for having me, Alicia. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye then. So this is the list of strategies and aspects of teaching mentioned by Gabriela Kaplan. And this is just for you as a reminder of, of a very important and relevant list that need to be present in your teaching, no matter the method you're using. I'll give you a few seconds just to have a look at the list. And I would like to add to Gabriela's list some of the things also that I've observed while observing lessons and experiencing in my lessons myself, which have to do with observing the class first. That is, when you enter the classroom, either virtual or face to face, teachers have a tendency, we have a tendency to focus on what we have to do, to open the book, to open the resources, and to focus, okay, this is how I will start the lesson, etc. It's good to observe the class first. If it's virtual, have a look at people as they join the online session and online class. If it's face to face, have a look at the class, the mood, the atmosphere, the resources. Ask a few questions. So observe the class first, observe the students. Uh, this has to do also with the active listening that Gabriela has shared with us, but also be an attentive observant of the class, not only during the class while monitoring pair work, but from the very first seconds of the class. Okay, let's look. How are you doing today? What are the resources available? How do the students look? And then focus on the materials. And maybe there's some need for adjustment in the lesson plan that day. I've also experienced good students' reactions when there's a balance between routines and the element of surprise. Routines are necessary. Students need to have certain routines in order to make progress with confidence. But also an element of surprise, very simple, like instead of starting with a usual routine, start with an image or with a riddle or with a brain teaser or with an object, with a song, with different things that may bring this element of surprise, which a student switch on immediately because it's something different in the lesson. And then, of course, build up with your usual step-by-step routines to make learning happen. I've experienced myself very powerful to invite the students to be part of the learning, for them to generate material. Sometimes teachers say, oh, I have to create flashcards and slips of paper, or I have to create some material online or a quiz. And maybe students can do it. Maybe it's part of the learning also to create something, to create a quiz, to create a board game, to create slips of paper for the lesson if it's blended or face-to-face. So take into account that the students can also generate materials and be responsible also for as support, as helpers, or anything that's necessary for the learning environment to be positive and active in order for the students to also take responsibility of their own learning. And be responsible, like, okay, I have a role here in this lesson, and it's important. Um, uh, so I think inviting students is also very powerful. Offering options when something is not working. It's got to do, of course, with flexibility, but also reacting to what's happening in the classroom. Yeah, if something is not working, either a game or an activity, or offer options. This is okay, let's do it. You can do this, this, or this, and the students can choose from the options. So be ready to change. And so students see the teacher's reaction and the teacher's commitment to learning. I would like to share now. I carried out an online survey to Argentinian teachers with quite a lot of experience, yeah, 20 to 40 years of experience. That is, people who have been teaching with different methods along 20, 30 years. And so they have different roles, yeah, some in the private sector, some in the public sector, with roles as teachers or coordinators, but mostly the question is, with your vast experience and teaching in different kind of schools and institutes, which of the following approaches have you used and proved successful? So this is also timeless in terms of, no matter what the trend is, this has been working for me. Task-based comes on top, then communicative language teaching, gamification, active learning, differentiated instruction, blended and cooperative learning. And as regards technology, again, people who have been working with technology for a long period of time, which technology that they have used has proved to be successful for learning? And well, learning management systems is first on top of the list. Breakout rooms, interactive quizzes, online projects, chat GPT, voice recorders, and automated feedback and pronunciation applications come quite at the end of the list, which I recommend to use more, because one of the difficulties for students is pronunciation. So as a conclusion, this is an infographic with all the list of timeless aspects of teaching that need to be present, no matter the method, shared by Gabriela Kaplan. Some other elements that I've added to her list, and also the information of timeless or methods and approaches that have proved to be successful along a long period of time, together with the technology that has also proved to be successful. So thank you very much for this opportunity, and okay, enjoy the rest of the conference.